And
just so you know, Johnny, you can start whenever you want.
Okay, I'm gonna set this gentleman up here. Good catch. If I borrow these. Cool. Okay. All right. Yes, sir. Sorry about that. All righty. I'm going to be moving around a lot on this one. Just kind of running around, so. Just say when. All right, so I'm going to show you all how to use the console. So you got, a few 24 channels, a few 32 channels in here. I'm working with a 24 channel over here. So let's just talk about the ins and outs. So if you look at the back of the unit, you notice you have either 24 or 32 mic pre's. Half of them are going to be combo connectors. So these combo connectors right here, I can take line level devices and come into them. So I can either plug a mic in there or a line level device. So that would be like a keyboard, a direct box, an active bass, something with a preamp in it. So I can, and if you're a recording purist, I can actually bypass our preamp and just use an external preamp.
So these bypass the...
These bypass the pre, so you're going in line level instead of mic level. That being said, I do have 20 decibels of digital boost, so if I have like a low output device like a synthesizer or something like that, I can turn it up. The 24 has 16 flex mixes, so 8 XLR and then 6 1/4-inch balanced. The 32 is actually going to have 16 flex mixes plus an additional 4 subgroups, so 20 mix outputs. Yes, sir.
I'm not sure if this is the right term, but I want to say, are those auto-sensing, so the console knows which input is active just by plugging into it, or do you have to select it?
No, as soon as you plug, are you saying it's like when you plug in a microphone?
Plug a mic into one
Yeah.
and a line signal, like a keyboard in the other.
Oh, so
Does the
if you're going in 1/4-inch, it's going to go in line level. So if you plug in a 1/4-inch balance cable, it's going to go in as line level. If you plug in an XLR, it's going to be mic level.
It's going to be mic level.
Yes, sir.
And if you put a line level into an XLR, you could configure it and tell it.
You would have some preamp boost. I would recommend using a 1/4-inch cable and bypassing the preamp. Yeah.
And it automatically bypasses it.
That's right. That being said, I can still boost it digitally. I'm bypassing the preamp, but if I wanted to boost it digitally, just for the sake of a low output device like an old synthesizer, you kind of have to boost those a little bit. But
the stage box, they're all combos, right?
the stage box is all combos. Yes, sir. All locking combos. And the reason we put, just so y'all know, at front of house, you don't have people stepping on cables and so we put the locking connectors on the rack mixer. So you got your flex mixes. You got a couple of stereo aux inputs as well. So we don't do the trick where we say it's a 32 channel mixer, but there's not 32 mic pre's on it. There's 32 mic pre's on this, plus a couple of stereo 1/4-inch aux inputs. So if I wanted to eke out a few more channels, plug in my keyboard or something into those inputs if I ran out of mic pre's. I can do that. And I have, by the way, if I go to this aux input button, which I'll go over here and do it. If I go to the aux input button, you know, it has my effects returns, but I have these stereo aux-ins. I can select them. I have fader control of them first, but I also have, you know, EQ, compressor, and limiter, and I can pan them as well. I can assign them anywhere. I can assign them in the mains or the subs. So that's a way to get a few more channels out of your board should you need to. A lot of people use those inputs as like they plug their, you know, their phone up to it as well. So 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch. So and then you got a couple of RCA inputs, ins and outs. You got your main left, right, and then your mono sub. And if you notice on the console, there's a trim for your main left and right, and there's a trim for your mono. The reason for that is if I'm sending a feed to a camera, I probably don't want it as hot as it would be at front of house. So as far as the digital portion of the console, I have my USB, I have my Wi-Fi control over Ethernet, I have my audio network, which would go to my AVB network, my stage box and stuff like that, and I also have AES out. So ample ins and outs. What do you think about? What do y'all think about maybe assigning some channels? Actually, you know what? Let me show y'all the EQs and everything first, and then I'll get you to start labeling some stuff here in a second. So hit channel 1 for me. So all your consoles should be like zeroed out. So if you go to channel 1 and you look at the screen over here, this is the overview of the channel. So I can see everything that's going on with the channel. And you'll notice if I move anything in the top right, this shows what I'm adjusting at any time. So I always know the parameters by this top, what's at the top right of the screen. But I can see, this is an overview. I can see if it's going to an aux mix. I can see if there's effects on that channel. I can see if it's assigned to a main or a subgroup. And by the way, I can just touch and turn those on and off. And I can adjust these parameters. So go to your EQ. So select channel 1 and then hit EQ over here. Everyone there? Select channel 1 and then hit EQ right here. So I can adjust all my parameters either from this encoder right here. I just touch whatever it is I want to adjust, or I can adjust it up here. So when I select this channel, this over here is my channel strip, right? When I select a channel, this becomes my EQ, my compression, and my gate that I can adjust. So right now I'm in the EQ, but if I want to adjust the compressor, I just slide over, hit compressor. And by the way, I have to turn the compressor on and off. So by default, it's not going to be on when you select compressor. So to turn it on, I can either turn it on here, or I can turn it on the screen. If you notice, the screen blinks, and it says at the top right, it says compressor on or off, right? Same with the EQ. I have to turn on the EQ, so I know if it's processing. So make sure that you turn your EQ on and off, or whatever it is you're using. So let's go back to the input screen. So the input is right here. That gives you your channel overview. Everyone got that? We're looking at the channel overview. So just so you know, I can get to my compressor and EQ and limiter and gate from the screen as well. So I can either get to it by touching it on the screen, or I can get to it by touching these buttons over here. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You said this is a parametric equalizer, it's not graphic?
I have a 31 band graphic in the, I have 8 31 band graphics that I can assign to the mains and my mix outputs as well. So all my inputs have a 4-band full parametric EQ, right?
Okay, 'cause it looks like I'm moving the set point here.
Yeah, so to adjust it, you would actually hit the set point and adjust it with this encoder, or you can adjust it here. So I can't actually drag it around. I can turn, I can select the parameter. I can turn stuff on and off, but I can't actually. So I would actually adjust it this way or this way.
And the 31 band graphic?
I'll get to that. I'll show y'all that. Once we get into the mix outputs, I'll show y'all about the 31 band graphic EQ. How you doing over here?
We're fine.
How's it going?
Good.
So y'all got it?
Yeah, well, I liked on the pan, a double click gets you back to recenter.
That's right.
That's pretty cool. Does
So,
it do that
but
for
you-
all the other controls, or? Trying to get
I
back
know
to
that it does it for the
zero.
pan to turn to 0. I'm not sure if it.
Do this.
Let's do this. So, no, it just does it for the pan.
Okay.
So, possibly. So that's your channel overview. Make sense? So y'all know how to get to y'all's EQs, your compressors, and everything for any given channel. So I have anywhere I see a select button, I can apply that fat channel processing. So let's go to our aux inputs in the bank. So to get to your effects, this is how I would get to my effects returns. This is how I would get to my stereo aux ins, my tape in, which, by the way, I can route a Bluetooth device to my tape in. So it's Bluetooth 4.1, so it actually sounds good. And then I also have my talk back there as well. So let's go into the bank, the bottom button, Mix Masters, Mix Effects Masters. So this is going to be the overall volume of my mixes over here. And you see that it's in banks of 8. So if I want to get to aux, 9 and beyond, I just page over. I just hit next. And that's going to be the overall volume going to these mix outputs right here on the left. Make sense? I also have my effects levels as well on that. And then,
So there's this FX sense?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And then I also have DCAs. So let's show y'all, let's go to this effects section right at the bottom left where it says mix select. Go to effects A. Hit that for me. Bottom left. So when I go to that effect, you'll see that it pulls up a reverb. And if I want to change the effect, I just go to this touch screen right here, and I have different reverbs and delays. So by the way, I can assign these 4 effects processors however I want. I can do any combination. In the previous AI platform, it was fixed, 2 reverbs, 2 delays. This platform, I can have any combination. I can have 4 delays, 4 reverbs, 3 delays, 1 reverb, any combination that I want. And by the way, we are going to be adding modulation at some point. So we'll have chorus and flange on there as well, available as a free firmware update. So we're all in effects A right now, right? You'll notice the scribble strips change to the color purple, or the select buttons. So that means I know when I'm in my effect layer, when they're purple, that's like a visual cue. When I go to my main mix input layer, the select buttons turn to blue. If I go to a mix output, the buttons go yellow. And by the way, I can color all this, and I'll show you all that in a bit. So DCA groups. Show you how to make a DCA on this console. So go into the bank and hit DCA. Everyone there? So this is to control DCAs, and y'all shouldn't have any, right? It's blank over here, I would assume, right? So you don't have anything. So let's go into this master control and hit DCA groups to actually make a DCA. So select that, and you're going to hit this plus button on the right, and you'll notice that you can name this DCA whatever you want. So you just click on this area right here. Keyboard pulls up, you can name that whatever you want. Background vocals, drums, any of that other stuff. We'll just leave it as new filter group. So if I want to create a DCA, you'll see that the board is lighting up. So I can either grab the channels here and throw them into the DCA, or I can select them right here, right? Make sense? So whatever channels you're putting on a DCA, turn those faders up because I just want to show you something visually. Everyone created a DCA? Hands up. Everyone's got a DCA? Okay, so we got one. So you just hit done, and then you should have your DCA. So adjust that DCA. You'll see the faders move. Right? You got yours? Cool. What's that?
I'm just moving one channel.
It's fine. That's still a DCA, even though it's only one channel. You can put other channels in there. But the point I wanted to make is that not everyone's faders move when you're adjusting DCAs on digital consoles. That's something that we have that's cool. So let's say I have a drum DCA, right? And I go to turn up the whole drum DCA, and the kick drum is too loud. Instead of me having to go dig for it, if I just select the DCA, everyone select their DCA right here. It spills out all the channels that are associated with that DCA. So then I can go in, I can make my adjustments. And you see how they, depending on how I have it mixed, it moves those channels relatively, right? So a great benefit for this would be, like for a church volunteer, that's a really compelling thing. Yes, sir.
So if I'm in my DCAs and I need to get back where it's just 1-to-1.
Glad you said something.
At home,
So
do that.
if I get too lost in this bank over here, I just hit main mix input, and it brings me right back home 1-to-1. Yeah. I said it in the previous presentation, but that's it's kind of like your get out of jail free card. It's like, okay, hit main mix and input at the left to get back 1-to-1.
So if we pull that kick drum down a little, does that automatically?
It automatically, that's right. So
That's now the new setting for the DCA.
that's right. So let's do that exercise again. So select my DCA, right? And then adjust it, right? You see the faders moving. Let's say the kick drum is too loud. Instead of me having to go dig for it, I hit select. I make my adjustment. It saves. I go back, and then I'm mixing again. So I'm going to have 24 of these. I can fill this up. I only have, it's in banks of 8, but I can have up to 24 DCAs. So you think about a church, you just put, you put all the drums together. You just kind of get a baseline mix for the volunteer going, and then they can just kind of ride that fader accordingly. Put all the background vocals together. Put all your guitars together. That's a cool workflow thing. So let's actually go to a mix output. So let's select mix 5 on the left side of the board. So when I go into my mix outputs, these faders, you notice that they moved, right? These then become the sin levels going to that mix. Make sense? So that means that if someone in their in-ears or their wedge wants more kick, more snare, they want some more vocals, I have 16 of these to adjust. So I can have 16 different people with in-ears or wedges or whatever. They can all have their own mix. They can control it from their iPhone too, by the way, remember? So I don't even have to do this. Yes, sir?
If they make a change on their iPhone, does that feedback to the console? Or is that just
Yeah, it's all on the network.
it's all linked?
Yeah.
So,
It's all on the network.
so
So if I
it's
actually,
too hot, if something's too hot on their end, they change it.
they adjust it. So if I don't know if you're going to ask this question. So let's say I assign them to mix 5, and I just happen to be in mix 5, and they go to adjust their channel, I would actually see the fader move. Yeah, but that's only if I'm actually looking at that mix. If they're just,
It'll happen in the background.
yeah,
But
it doesn't,
If I pull that up,
Right.
I'm not resetting it.
no, they have
I'm
control.
taking his change.
That's right. They have control over their levels. They have control over their levels. So let's go back to mix 5. So these then become the sin levels going to an aux, right? And by the way, I have compression, limiter, and I have up to 8 GEQs. By the way, I can now, on this new platform, I can delay my outputs up to 170 milliseconds. Why would I want to do that? If I'm in a situation where you have a front of house position, you have your speakers way up front, and then maybe you have some other speakers in a balcony, you probably want to delay those, right? Because the sound is hitting the audience at different times. So I can delay all those outputs up to 180 milliseconds, 170 milliseconds, sorry. So let's hit EQ on our aux. So I have a 6-band full parametric for every single mix output. So I can give, I can tailor their EQ pretty significantly. I can give them compression, I can give them limiting. So, and by the way, I can name these mix outputs whatever I want. So to do that, I just go to this gear up here, select the gear, and this is also where I can change the nature of that mix output. By default, it's an aux mix. That would go to like a wedge, you know, a speaker in front of an artist, an in-ear, headphone amp, whatever. But then I also have subgroups. I can make a subgroup, which is similar to a DCA, but a subgroup actually has a physical output, right? A DCA, you're just adjusting it and it's coming through the mains, but a subgroup I can assign to the mains or send it to a physical output. Make sense? And then I can adjust this as a matrix mix. And you'll notice the color of the LED changes. So I know if my mix outputs are standard aux mixes. If it's a matrix, it's going to be green. If it's a subgroup, it's going to be blue. Right? Make sense? So I can name it whatever I want. How do I do that? I just go over here, and you change it to, you know, Billy's Mix or whatever. And by the way, I can do all the labeling from my iPad as well. So if I'm making adjustments wirelessly, it's going to push to the console. So if I've given someone the permission to be able to change names on the console, they can do that for me. I don't have to. So if I'm the front of house person, yes, sir.
Can you do it from a cell phone? Android? Can I use
You can do it from an Android.
Can I use a stylus on my
You can do it from an Android. From QMix, you can label.
I don't think you
Can you?
You can.
Okay.
I don't know if that's in the parameters or
Yeah.
not. We use those a lot, so.
Yeah. I know that you can from the iPad
Yeah.
because it has the keyboard and
Yep.
stuff, but it's something I need to look at after this. So everyone kind of understand how the aux mixes work? So you asked about a 31 band GEQ, right?
Yeah.
So how do I get to my GEQ? I go over here on the main master fader and I select GEQ. And it should say, probably no GEQ assigned if I don't have something assigned. So let's go to hit assign, right? And y'all should see this, my GEQ assignment. I can assign these individually wherever I want, but I have up to 8. So we don't, we have 4 effects processors and 8 GEQs. So we don't do the thing that some other manufacturers do where you say, I have 7 effects processors, but when you use a GEQ, you're eating up an effect. So we have 4 fixed effects processors, 8 GEQs. So if I want to assign something to a GEQ, I just assign it wherever I want. So I'm going to go with mix 9, 10, 11, 12. And it shows me the slots, how many GEQs I have open. It says free GEQs, and then it goes to none.
A channel.
No, you wouldn't want to put a GEQ, a 31-band graphic EQ on an input probably. You would want to do that on outputs to be able to ring out monitors and stuff, to be able to ring out a system. So did everyone assign a GEQ? Do me a favor and assign a GEQ on 9. Sure. And let's actually go to mix 9. Did y'all get there? Yeah. Everyone got there?
Go to mix 9.
Did y'all get y'all's GQ on mix 9? Okay, so let's go to mix 9. You'll now see there's a GQ on it. So just you can either grab it from here or you can grab it from the screen. So touch it, right? So let's actually hit this button, 2 faders. So I can actually send my GQ to be able to adjust from my faders. Or I can turn that off and adjust it from up here on my encoders. Make sense?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
My question, now that's white selector box up there.
Yeah.
Shouldn't you be able to move that?
Yeah, so you...
It doesn't on mine since the last firmware update.
Okay. So I would just adjust from
'Cause you
faders.
can page back and forth to the frequencies, but that never moves.
That might be a little...
Yeah, it might,
be
that's,
a
I
bug.
think it's something new.
Yeah, he
that
said
popped up.
it was able to
Used
do
to-
that
used to do
before the
that.
last update, but now it doesn't.
Okay.
I gotta put in.
Yeah, so just send it... It's
I want to do it anyway. I did 2 faders.
And you notice you have a reset button. And then you can change the assignment on the fly if you want.
You got presets.
And you have some GEQ presets, by the way. So if I have a GEQ setting in a room, I can just save it. And save it into a scene.
Or a quote standard curve.
Sure.
Yep.
And by the way, we have to turn on our GQ, don't we? Right? So you got to turn it on. So I can either turn it on the top left or on this button on the main fader.
And because we did the two fader, the channels are all muted, so I know that I'm controlling the EQ, not the channel.
That's right. So we're pretty familiar with mix outputs, would you say? GQs, that section. So let's go to our user layer right here on the bank. So it'll be blank. So I just select a channel, and I didn't label any of my channels, but if I want to assign a channel to that fader, I just select it. I can select it up here as well. And look, I can assign not just channels. So you touch this to get down to the other stuff. So I can assign aux mixes. I can assign subgroups. I can assign DCAs on that user. I can assign effects returns. So a lot of flexibility. So the eventuality is that we're going to have user profiles, so that when someone walks up to a board, they'll be able to have their own kind of setup and stuff like that. But you think about in a volunteer situation, having that user layer, you could just have someone on that and just give them a few channels to work with instead of them seeing all 32 and getting overwhelmed. Just start them off on a user layer and give them a few DCAs, give them a few mix outputs, give them some effects returns. So in the fat channel, I have a user layer there as well. So select that for me. Select this user button right here in the fat channel. So I can actually assign these encoders to be what I want. So to make an assignment, I just hit this button, and on the screen it pulls up what I can assign. So I can assign mix outputs. I can assign a gate release, gate threshold, certain parameters. And on the buttons, so what you could do is basically put your go-to parameters on that user layer. And then once we have DAW control, which by the way, these mixers are going to be able to control Studio One next month. And then early next year, you'll be able to control Pro Tools and Logic as well. So you'll be able to use it as a DAW controller. But the cool thing about this user layer is I'll actually be able to map these encoders and buttons to plugins within my Studio One software. So it's just another measure of flexibility. So, what would be your go-to thing that you have to adjust in your dynamics? Is there any one thing that you always find yourself going back to?
Mostly EQ, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's kind of in its section of its own.
Yeah, you have your own section. Maybe it's a mix. You want to be able to turn up. You want to assign a mix instead of going down here to the mix. You could just have it on here. So when I'm in that user layer, this is going to be global. So anytime I just go to grab something in that user layer, it's global, or it's on the channel that I have selected, rather. Right.
I know a lot of people recommend like setting the preamp input level once and never messing with it again, but if you're mixing live and like your guitar keeps getting louder
there's a lot of different viewpoints on gain structure, and I kind of went into this yesterday. It's your foundation. So you typically don't want, like I've seen people, and you've probably seen this too, people mixing from the gains.
I don't mix from the gain, but
I'm not accusing, but I've seen it.
I've used it sort of as a
So,
trim throughout
right.
the night if
So-
the guy's guitar keeps getting
So
louder.
one way to do it is to put your faders at unity, put your master bus at -5, and turn your, so to adjust your gain, let's go to main mix input. I'm going to show you guys how to adjust gain. That's very important.
But is there,
So make sure you,
is there like a one-button unity switch?
you have a zero, you can zero out your board. You can go to a scene, which I'll show you that in a second. So select channel 2 and move the fader, the channel fader up to unity, which is the U. And then your first encoder up here is your preamp, right? And you have 60 decibels of boost on that preamp. So if I were setting gain, I would have my master fader. This is me. There's other viewpoints on this. I mean, there's You go on the internet and there's people arguing about this. If it's me, I put this at unity and I turn the preamp gain up to where I use my ears. I oftentimes don't even use the meters. I tune it to where it sounds good to the room. You know, use your ears. Turn it up to where it sounds good to the room. Obviously, you don't want distortion. Find where the distortion point is, and obviously turn it down. But you don't, you know, with digital consoles, you don't have to run them super hot.
So I did hit the input button, and now I've got my preamp gain.
Yeah. So you select your channel,
Right.
and your preamp gain is all the way to the left. And by the way, this is recallable. So I can save that as a scene. I can just bring up my preamps and it's all off to the races. Now, to answer your question, would I want to adjust preamp during a show? Maybe. Because you know how it is. You know how it is when you're sound checking.
If it was really loud, I could just call up a different scene.
Right, so-
To trim that
so-
or something without having to mess with the fader.
Right. But think about it this way. When you go to sound check someone, especially a singer, a lot of times they sing really, really low during sound check.
Right,
And then the band comes on and they're screaming.
right.
So I try to get sound checks with a vocalist with the full band going. Because they're going to be trying to sing over the music that they hear. So that means I won't have to turn up the gain or turn down the gain. But you know how it is with musicians. During the course of the night, a drummer gets revved up. All of a sudden, the gain stage that you set for his kick drum and snare is clipping because he's playing way louder. So maybe you got to go in and trim it down a little bit. You
Now
know.
you're riding the faders.
You know.
Two things I could do. One, I'm guessing I could save a scene that would lower that trim later in the evening or something.
Yeah, but I would just.
Do the virtual sound check.
Right, but I would, me personally, I would just listen for it, and if I notice that the drummer is clipping, or if he's playing a lot softer, like way softer than he did initially, I would probably just listen for it, and I can I have the ability to just solo that in my headphones, to where it's not affecting what's coming out of the main house, so I can listen, I could just solo his channel, and then turn it down, and then make the adjustment. So, y'all got any questions?
Multiple ways of doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. We could talk 6 hours about gain structure, but it is the foundation. And me personally, I recommend using your ear to the room. That's the best way to do it. And have the fader at unity. Have it. That's my personal way. Whoops, sorry. So we know how to adjust gain. Let's start labeling some channels. So I want you to go to channel 1, right? And hit this gear up here. We're gonna try to cruise through this fast, right? So go to this gear, and you can name it whatever you want, right? You can touch this and name it whatever you want, but I want you to use our labeling system because I'm gonna show y'all something. So go to channel type, right underneath channel name. And go to the screen, touch drums, and let's do kick in for channel 1. Channel 2, let's go to drums. Let's go to snare. Snare bottom, that'll work. Channel 3, let's go to high tom. Channel 4. Who's already gone through 3 channels? Hands up. So you can name them. You can name them whatever kind of drum channel you want, just for the sake of being fast. Just make them all drum type channels. So let's do 6 channels of drums. Just pick them. Kick, snare, some toms, hi hats. Pick a tom, any tom. And you can name it anything. It doesn't have to be perfect. I just want y'all to have 6 channels of drums. All right. Channel 7, let's do some guitars. So go to channel 7, select guitars, and you name them whatever you want, acoustic, banjo, bass, whatever's fastest. So 7, 8, 9 are going to be guitars, and you can name them whatever you want. It could be banjo, it could be bass.
Okay, check.
Yeah.
mandolin.
Yeah, there you go. Let's have a mandolin. Why not? Let's get a mandolin in there. So we got the first six channels are drums, or the first six channels are drums. 7, 8, 9 are some kind of guitar, right?
Yep.
All right, so let's do 9 and 10. Let's do keyboards. So I'm going to do an accordion because I'm from Louisiana and we have Cajun Zydeco music. Channel 11, let's do an organ or whatever kind of keys you want. 12, 13, and 14, let's do vocals. So I scroll to my category and select vocals. So I got lead vocals. So 12, 13, and 14, we're going to do some type of vocal, right? Oh, you got to, oh, I'm just in the wrong thing. Yeah, I can either adjust it here or in this encoder, right? So I got vocals, right? So just give me 3 channels of vocals. Any vocals you want. You could do a choir.
Oh, it was just underneath other.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. So where we at? 13. Vocals. Lead vocals. Why not?
That's a good one.
And then 14. Hit vocals.
Yeah.
And then whatever you want. So we got some drums, we got some guitars, we got some vocals, we got some keys, right?
The problem is when you do that, for me, like on here, I would be like when you go to your main mix.
All right. So I want to show y'all something. So because I use that labeling system, there's a couple of things that happened. Go to your DCAs in the bank. Right here. Y'all see that? Do y'all see some DCAs? Does everyone see multiple DCAs? So because I use that labeling system, it created a DCA for me. Now, I can turn that off. That's called auto grouping. If I want to turn it off, I go to master control and I select right by it says groups. I can turn that on and off. So if I don't want it to automatically create a DCA for me, I don't have to have that. How y'all doing over here?
We went to the DCA.
But we only have this.
Okay, so it's no problem. So when I go here, select auto groups.
Okay.
Oh,
So I can turn that on and off. So it automatically,
so
because
ours was off.
yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
It's fine. It just means, no problem. So now I have a few DCAs, right?
Oh, I was just looking at the
Yeah, so the little,
first character.
yeah, so the little squiggly denotes, right before the DCA, denotes that that's an automatically created
Okay.
DCA. If y'all notice on the DCA, there's a little squiggly in the scribble strip. That denotes that it was automatically created because I use that labeling system. And by the way, I can do this from my iPad. I can cruise on my iPad. Well, they're all turned down, that's why, right?
Oh, okay, you gotta get them up first.
Yeah, if it's 0, it's not adjusting anything, right? So everyone saw how that automatic DCAs groups works?
I think I'm lost. I got my labels, I hit DCA.
Okay, so your auto groups weren't on. So, and I mentioned this earlier. Where is it? No, DCAs. So I select auto groups.
Okay.
Sorry? You can turn that on or off. You can turn that feature on or off if you want, right?
Okay, so if I was setting my drum levels,
Mm-hmm.
then I could,
Yep, look. Just,
well, okay, so here's my drums right to
Mm-hmm.
here. So, let's say we want to set the drum DCA, when I just select.
no. It's over here. Your DC, to control them. This is just showing you
That's
that
showing
you,
what-
how many DCAs you have.
Okay.
This is
So-
to actually adjust them
So
over
if
here.
I want to make this what I would call my drum
Yeah.
subgroup.
Well, it's already a drum DCA. This is your drum DCA, right?
Oh,
See, it's already, because we use that
automatically created it?
yeah, because I use that labeling system, because I named stuff drum type,
selected
it put it all
it knows
together.
what these
Same with the
are.
guitars, right? So you have your guitars over here, right? You're only seeing these 3 faders move, right? With this one.
All I have to do is
It
look
put
over
it
here.
together,
These are
yeah.
the DCAs already
Yep.
here.
See, here's your keyboards, right?
So if I want to adjust my drums relative to
Yeah, you could,
the
that,
vocals, you select it.
yeah, you just select it, and it spills out whatever is
Oh,
in that
yeah,
DCA.
so it's over.
Got it? Cool, right? Everyone good? Everyone good? Okay. So let me show y'all something real quick, and we're going to start mixing here shortly.
It's like about 100 less buttons.
Shows a
What's that?
different screen.
It's like 100 less buttons to push
Right.
That's why,
than a
like, you
analog
create an
console
all
setup.
group, so then it kind of condenses your, but then you could, like, by the end of the night, you're either turning all the drums down. Vocals.
Did y'all have any questions?
No.
Cool. All right, so let's go to a channel. Let's go to channel 1. Everyone select channel 1. So you see the overview. If I want to change the EQ, right, I select EQ. And remember, I can touch it or whatever. So remember those plugins I was telling you about? Select your EQ and select this menu where it says standard. And I have a different type of EQ, remember? I have a passive EQ and I have a vintage style EQ. Same with my compressors. I go select my compressor. By default, it's going to be standard. But I have another plugin. So you just select that in this little menu. Make sense? So check it out. I have a lot of processing on this. So I can actually have, for every channel, I can have 2 different, if I go to this is important. I got this AB button, EQ Dynamics. Select that, and then select another compressor. And I can toggle back and forth between different types of a compressor. Or I could just have the same EQ, but different settings. So
Do you have to turn the compressor on each time you switch to the AB?
no, it just when you switch it to AB, it just flips it, right? So I have to go and select, I can either make an adjustment, right? And see how it switched it?
Yep.
So it's just the same compressor type, but it's switching the parameters. So the benefit of this would be, in a sound check, if I have 2 different settings, if I'm going through 2 different types of EQs, I want to see what sounds better, I could just AB them. The other thing I could use is if I have a male vocalist for part of the night and a female gets up on that channel, instead of me having to change the scene or re-EQ it on the fly, I just hit that button and it flips the EQ and compressor settings. And I can save that as a scene. So for every different scene, I could have 2 different types of compressor and EQ settings to toggle between. So it's AB, right? So we know how to switch between different types of compressors and EQs, right? On inputs. And we know how to use fat channel AB, right? So scenes. You have 99 scenes that you can save to the board. So let's go to the scene button right here in the master control section. Hit scenes for me. So right now, I can select what I want to save a scene. I can name that scene whatever. So if you go to empty location and select it, you hit store. Store is going to start blinking, and it's going to give you the option to name that scene. I can name it whatever I want. Maybe I want to name it a venue. Did y'all find it? So yeah, so you have an empty location, you hit store,
Okay.
and then I can name it whatever I want. So if it's a certain venue or a certain band or anything. But in that scene, I can decide what it is I want to keep. So I can save I can save all the aux mixes, I can save the effects, I can turn all that off. Maybe in the scene, I literally just want my GEQ setting and my preamp setting. I can save my DCAs in that scene. And I can have 99 different ones. If I'm using a computer, I can have as much as the hard drive will have. Same with the iPad. I can save a bunch of scenes to an iPad as well. Make sense? So on the fly, I can switch all my mixes. A benefit of this would be different types of bands. Or in theater, you typically want stuff to come up and down really quickly. And you may not be able to grab all the faders at the same time.
And my zero out board will
Zero, so let's go to zero out board because I'm going to get y'all to mix. We got about 20 minutes left, and I want y'all to actually start hearing and actually using this console. Let's go to zero out, and you'll see that it says recall. So we're going to lose everything right here now. We're gonna lose all the scribble strips and everything that we made. One quick thing, though. This is important. This is important. So if you go to a channel and you go to the EQ, you'll notice a preset section right here. We have presets for all different types of instruments. So if I go to this category, I can pull up just drums. So it'll filter what I have. So if I go to like a kick, I can decide to have a preset for my EQ, my compression, and my gate. Or I can just say, you know what, I just want the preset to be an EQ curve. I don't want compression because I don't need it. So all I do is I just hit recall. It gave me an EQ curve. Same with my guitars and stuff like that. I just select the EQ or any of the dynamics. I go to presets. You know, I obviously want to filter it to a guitar. So that's a bass, so I'm going to go with upright bass. Hit recall. It gave me an EQ curve. So for a church volunteer, that's huge. That's how I learned how to mix, to be honest. When I started working in PreSonus, I didn't, you know, I ran sound at small shows and stuff like that. But this is what taught me how to mix. So we have tons of presets. This will get you where you need to go. It'll at least get you a baseline. So, so if you haven't zeroed out your board, zero it out. Right? And just hit recall. So you go to scenes, zero out, recall. Okay. So what I want y'all to do is on the right side of the board, right under the meters, there's something that says sound check. I want you to hit edit. And hit load session. And then I want y'all to select sweet friend, because y'all are my sweet friends. Right over here. Load, hold up, let's go back. So load session, select sweet friend, and hit recall. You're going to see it blinking. Select sweet friend and hit recall. Are we all there? Is everyone my sweet friend? Hold up, you can't.
It says sweet friend.
Save and close. Let's go back out. Let's just make sure that we're in the right thing. So load session, sweet friend, recall. Is everyone sweet friend? Right? Hit play on the master control. Put on your headphones. We're going to start mixing. Oh.
Digital input sign, right?
Yeah, digital input source. Select digital input source so all the channels come back.
So all digital source?
Yep, all digital source if it's not already selected.
All digital.
Yeah, and turn your faders up. Bring your faders up.
That would be part of the problem.
Are y'all hearing stuff?
Not finding play.
Plays at the master control.
That big
There you go.
arrow thing?
Yes, sir. And select all digital source. Y'all getting audio in there? Everyone's got audio?
I got a question. If I just wanted to isolate just the keyboards, I hit solo, but it's not isolating just the keyboards. And do I have to unselect everything?
No, we need to change the nature of the
Seriously?
solo. No. You go here. Try it now.
Okay, you gotta go over here.
Well, no, this is just a set. This is like an administrative thing, right? Do you just hear
It's
keyboard?
Still playing everything.
Okay, hold up. Hold up. How about now?
Yeah, that works.
That works. Okay, so you need to set solo mode to CR, control room, to just play one thing,
Oh,
right?
Okay. That'd be nice to know.
Should we have channel labels? Because I have no idea what I'm controlling.
All right, so let's hit stop. Everyone, let's hit stop. So let's hit save and close at the top left. Save and close. So it should be under your sound check. Save and close. Right? Everyone save and close? All right, so let's do this again. We're going to actually bring in the channel labels. So it gives you an option to say, so let's load the session again, but at the top right, it says load mix. So that will actually pull up what it is. So hit load mix.
Sweet friend, load
So
mix.
is that showing up on y'all scribble strips now? Everyone sees what they're mixing now, right?
Now we got it. Yep.
See, I did that on purpose so that you know you got to hit load mix. Otherwise, it's just going to bring in the audio, right?
I was trying to solo things to figure out what was where, but
Yeah.
there was a control room thing we had to do for solo. What was that?
All right. So if y'all wanna just solo stuff, I have different ways to solo things. So go to this solo section right here under monitors, and then go to CR, control room. And by the way, if y'all have a 24 channel board, it is a 32 track session. So to get over to those other channels, I just page over.
I'm not seeing control room.
No, right here,
Oh, add it.
CR. Now, can you solo something? You hear it?
Probably
Yeah, is it playing? Oh, we got to go back. Hold on for a second. Load mix. Oh, no,
Sweet
okay.
friend. Load session. Sweet friend. Load mix.
Recall.
Probably didn't hit recall, but I got
No, I
the
didn't.
labels.
It's coming. All digital source. Hit play. And then you should be able to just solo individual things.
Got it.
All right. So let's EQ some things.
Hear anything.
Oh, it's okay. It's
Saying
okay.
the source is now the USB.
Hold up. Oh, so we have to go to all digital source. So what that does is it turns these into SD card returns, right? It turns all your input.
There we go.
Okay, now.
Cool.
I don't hear.
Is it solo? So solo,
Okay.
control room.
CR.
You don't hear anything? I hear something.
Do you just hear solo? Did you just hear that one
Yeah.
thing? Okay. Got it?
But,
You're just listening to one
oh, there
thing.
it is.
That was on mute.
Wait,
That's the
there it
key.
is. Now we got it.
Yeah. So you can just start with just the drums. Turn down everything but the drums. So we probably want to add some EQ, right? So what does channel 1 show for y'all?
This says kick in.
Kick in. So select channel 1 and select the EQ. And then go to a preset. And then select your preset and hit recall, and it's going to give you an EQ curve.
No volume on this. I don't know why. Do you have volume?
No.
No?
Well, it's past. It's all digital source. How about now?
Okay.
What does that mean? See, I'm the special needs kid here.
It's okay. So y'all know y'all have an RTA on every input. Select channel 1, go to EQ, and turn on this RTA. So I can actually see now. Y'all know how to turn on the RTA?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Do you know how to turn on the RTA? So select a channel, go to the EQ, and I can actually see what's happening with that.
Is this more than 24? I think it's more than 24 channel.
Yeah, it's a 24 channel, so I would just
seeing my
page
vocal.
over.
Oh, page. Okay, I was a little confused here because like keyboards, I hear channels, but I assume those are stereo left and right.
Oh,
Or down.
just making it louder or softer.
Right.
Okay.
So let's go over to I want to show y'all a different EQ setting. So let's go to if you're on a 24 channel mixer, you're going to have to page over to get to the vocals. Right? You see the vocals?
Where are they?
Okay, so select vocal 1, which is on channel 27. Select that. Now, hit your EQ, which remember I can do from the touch screen or here in the fat channel. And I have a standard EQ on it, but let's put a vintage on that vocal.
I can't reach the side of the board, so it's,
Let's go, where are we at? Vocal,
Yeah, we were just listening. to
select
vocals.
that, and then let's change it to a different one. Let's go to a vintage and adjust these, so you can adjust them however, and see how it sounds. Just listen, and just adjust some of the parameters.
at the end of the thing.
Oh, is it in the end?
At the end.
So let's go rewind it, hit play. How are you doing? You got any questions?
It doesn't seem to be doing anything to the voice on that at all when I'm adjusting.
Well, you remember you got to turn it on, right?
Oh.
Right? Don't forget to turn on your EQ, remember?
Oh, Jesus. God. So you gotta hit the on button.
Remember, we got to turn on the EQ, right? See, y'all got it turned on. It's probably, the song's probably over, so let's just rewind it.
Oh, I hit rewind and then play. Oh, yeah.
So we go back to
that was
sound
the
check,
end. Oh, so
rewind it, and hit play.
about a 3-second lead-in.
So how
That's
do you
right.
go right back to the beginning again?
How do you rewind the recording to get back? I think we probably went too far. We
Right
don't have
here?
Vocal anymore. Yeah, we hit that.
So
Nothing's
look.
happening.
So look, hit play.
Yeah.
If you want to look at the playback, you go to the sound check edit to look at where you're at.
If you want to look at where you're at, you go to here.
Yeah, to look at the playback section.
Okay. Now that brings me back to the beginning.
Right, right. So
There is no gradual rewind.
no,
It's just
it's
all
like
or nothing.
it's like a tape measure. Well,
That does go back to me.
hold up. I think you can.
Where they do that?
I think you can. Oh, jog. Yeah. So I just select jog.
And now I can do.
Yeah, and then you hit right.
Okay.
Control room, then it'll go back to means when you're not selected.
Let's go back to EQ.
So y'all want to try a different compressor on something?
What?
Y'all want to try a different compressor on something? What's a good channel to compress over here?
Snare?
Let's do the snare. Channel 3.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
I-
So remember, we got to turn it on. So let's try the FET. Let's go to channel 3. Go to channel 3, and then select the FET compressor. Let's go to channel 3.
I'm lost. I soloed the vocal, and that, if I select this, I can bring the bass in, but the vocal that I soloed is still here for some reason.
You got to turn that off. Turn it on and off.
Next page.
So select this channel, and then go to compressor,
Compressor.
and let's go to this. And remember, we got to turn it on, right? And we could adjust it over here.
Yeah, I was doing the graphic EQ on the vocal and I didn't turn it on.
Like bring down the gain?
That's a kick out.
Yeah. Okay. Are we adjusting compressor? Y'all good over here?
They're really teaching me a lot here.
Good.
They're very nice.
Good. All right, so let's add some effects to something. What's a good channel to add effects to? Vocals. And what channel is vocals?
1, 2, 3,
27.
7, 8.
So go to channel 27. Let's everyone go to channel 27 and then hit effects A and then turn up that effect. And remember, it depends on what you want. Right? It depends on what you want. So you probably don't want to put a delay. Probably want to put like a reverb on it. So let's select that channel and add some reverb. Did y'all get that? Y'all got some reverb coming through?
All the way down there.
You can adjust it up here, right? Or you can adjust it here. Remember?
Or with
Right.
touch, or here.
And then remember, you have different types of reverbs, right? If I go to this section over here, there's different types of reverbs to select from.
Uh-oh, we just bypassed the whole thing again. Backwards. Yeah, we gotta jog back. There we go.
Do y'all have any questions? How y'all doing?
Yeah, we're now figuring.
Yeah. What's going on?
So where do we set the mix to this?
The overall.
Well,
We're trying to add just some plate reverb to it.
Okay, and you have it. You got to select the effect,
oh, we didn't do that.
and then you got to turn it up. You got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is
now-
it showing up now?
Well, we can hear it, but
Is it showing up in there?
Yeah, it's not picking up any.
So maybe the effects are turned down. So let's go to our mix masters. Maybe they got turned down. No, those are up. Okay. So let's do a different. Let's see if there's a different type of reverb that's a little more obvious. How about now? Are you still getting channels?
we can hear it, but
I can't hear any effects.
nothing. Yeah, there's.
Could be a really short.
Right.
maybe there's a
So
preset
so let's
that's like a
adjust
big
it.
room or something.
Yeah. So let's
Sorry, I went.
It's
I
okay.
jumped
It's
ahead.
okay. So where were we?
But the
I'm
laser's
upside
not
down.
speak.
But y'all are hearing it, right?
No, I'm not hearing any effects.
How about now? Yeah.
It's hard to
I'm
be
upside down.
too.
Yeah, it's hard.
Let me go there.
Like that, there we go. Long plate reverb should give us some reverb. Oops. Gotta get down. Large room. Hit select. Oh, we got that on there. Where's the effect? There we go. We gotta get back to those showing. Nope. So change it. Didn't change that, it just changes these.
Yeah, any of these like here, just
Is that, oh, it disappeared again.
That's what it shows up there too.
I'm in something else. In the compressor. Okay. So, we're in that. And that gets us all the way over the effect sounds.
I'll have to adjust this later. I'm gonna get with y'all in a second.
What?
I'm gonna show y'all in a second how to do that. All right, so that concludes the mix lab.
Let's give away some free stuff.
Appreciate y'all's time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy anniversary, Full Compass.
So we'll get that in just a second. So first of all, I want to thank all you guys for coming here today and taking time. I want to next thank Johnny McAndrews, our presenter. I want to congratulate the fine folks at Full Compass on the 40-year anniversary, so let's give it up there. And now let's give away some free stuff. So, and let's hope I have the right ones. Okay. And these are blank. We'll try these. Okay. And the winner is Taylor. Do we have a Taylor in here? We do not? Okay. How about Alyssa? Okay. Nick?
Is that a record?
How about Tim? Tim is the winner.
You gotta be kidding me.
You won.
You won! Congratulations.
Thank you for y'all's time. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna be hanging out. I'm hanging out here for a second. Do we have to do any changeover? Is it?
I would say you got a few minutes there.
Let me get in here.